All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. Try it again. Nightly podcast for December 12th, 2022. We'll start with the sniper trade of the day. And we have a symbol that closed here yesterday. And it gapped down to here. And then closed at the top of that range. So we have an OR3. And now what we have is kind of a sideways movement. It's staying inside its 3-minute range. So we're going to zoom in and look at this a little more carefully. So once again, we have the close here. Opened, sold off, closed here. And now it's stuck in between, the limits of that opening range 3. Now we notice that we've already got a 1, 2, 3 entry here possible. So if you say 1, 2, 3, and then put some kind of management risk box on it, you might have a trade that looks like this. You would probably also want to be short somewhere in this region. So no hurry. Now what we have is we've waited 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bars, so 27 minutes in. And we've got the OR10 has crossed the baby dragon, is now moving up. We're approaching the PSAR flip here for an SSC entry. Never got the RL10 breaking through. Never got out of the dragon, never breached the PSAR. So waiting for the PSAR's not a bad idea. And we can now see we've got a little Kata 2 formation, PSAR flip, standard risk box. And now we could play towards the high of the day or the closing of the gap. I would treat probably right about here as the tactical space. I mean, I could see this as the tactical space, that it's not interesting until it gets above here, which would be about probably 1.5 R. So this feels like a reasonable tactical space right here. Meaning that all I have to do inside of this tactical space is get my risk, my stop, above my entry. And as long as I can do that, then I can lock in this wedge and call that no lose plus dinner for 2. I don't really think I have a good moving trade until it gets above the high of the day. That's when it feels good. Check or hold? By about this time, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3 dots above my entry. So by the time I have those 3, I should be thinking about in the Wu exit. let's see, let me draw that with red. Here's my stop. So the Uwe exit would look like this. And then maybe pick up the southern skin of the dragon or the PSAR. But at least what I'm doing is I've locked in that amount of gains in here. I might also have just taken, just follow the PSAR all the way up. So this is the Uwe exit that keeps this initial risk box in play until I have evidence that the price is moving in my direction, signified by 3 dots above my entry. So 2 different ways we might play that strategy. You know, the other one is simply to take a risk box and hang it from the highest high. So in that case, my stop is about here. In the Uwe exit, my stop is here. And with the PSAR, my stop is here. So to me, this is the preferred. By this time, when I have that much room in my favor, I'd like to lock in that little wedge right there and just say that's mine. So even if I'm using a trailing 1R, it's hard, it's basically impossible for me not to just lock in that move right to here. That's where I think you want your stop. I hope you suffer with that decision on every trade you ever make. So if you take the Uwe exit or the PSAR exit, you'd be out. If you get out here, then you have to get in somewhere around here because it's taken out the hump of the dragon. It didn't really penetrate further. So if you get out here for a slight gain, then this is your re-entry. If you don't get back in there on the PSAR flip, then you don't understand how to trade in these positions. But not later than this entry, which is above finally, all the way back to the OR3. So even if you don't get in here, then this is reason enough to get in. And the size of that risk box is the size of that risk box. Check or hold. So that is a reasonable scratch on that second entry. If this is the second entry, that's a reasonable scratch, with the potential that if this breaks to the upside, you could re-enter as soon as this curls and goes up because you're getting in above here. But this exit here, you have no reason to believe that it's not going to here. There have been some significant pullbacks on this thing. So in a bearish normal market, there's no reason to believe that it can't go down here. So you've got a scratch right here because it's supposed to go, but it didn't. And you have a chance to get out at break even and just reset. Now, if you had taken the earlier exit or the earlier entry, I would say down in here, on this failure to fail further, that's why that's a good entry, because it cleared the previous statistical high, and now you've actually got this much in hand, and you actually make a no-lose plus dinner for 2. Whereas if you wait for the additional confirmation, you're probably just getting a scratch. So this is a case where in the choice between those two, the extra confirmation makes you miss that win. Check or hold? What would you call this entry? Caught a 2. PSAR flip. Standard risk box. It's still above that opening gap. So it's above that OR3, and it's pushing towards a new high of the day. So that feels like it could actually go. By that point in the trade, you've got a couple dots above your entry, but you've also got this much space. I like my stop right about there. I could live with here. And I'll take that. If you were perfect, you might have taken that as a 1-2-3 exit or edge of the dragon, but I'm happy with that on a regular basis. I would always be happy to take. That's about a 0.8 win. What would you call this entry? Caught a 2 once more. That would be your Uwe exit right there. Locking in that piece. With that kind of very positive run up, though, I'm not offended if you were to go to the bottom of the dragon, even a 2-bar low or the PSAR. Where would you put your stop? At 1, 2, or 3? So you've got about 1.5 in hand. I can't see having a stop lower than the PSAR. Maybe the bottom of the dragon, spine, 2-bar low. Take your pick. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2. Let's call that the bottom of the dragon. 1, 2, or 3. I mean, 1 would be just exit now. 2 is the bottom of the dragon. 3 is the PSAR. 4 is a full risk box. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think so. I don't want to give back that extra piece, but I'd like to give this a little bit of room because this feels like a shelf right there. I don't want to. I'm willing to take 2. And that's about what you end up getting when all is said and done. So a couple reasonable moves in there. This one is a little tricky. You probably get a piece here and maybe a piece there. Probably a half, and then probably 1.5. So there was maybe 3 to 4 R potential inside there. And this thing got stronger as the day got longer. So slow, a harsh sell off, and then a little grind, and then it slowly improved all the way through. This is our 30-minute look. So this is one day. Pretty much gapped down and closed well near the top of the 5-day range, which is this blue box. Here's our 10-day high and 10-day low. Here's our 10-day range. And here's our 30-day look. So this feels like it's holding support here. 391. So if I just arbitrarily say, hey, the 10-day low, if it breaks below the 10-day low, I want to be significantly short, because now that will have negated all of this. If this breaks below that price, now it's coming back to here, and it's going to run through that pretty fast. And that's if this shelf breaks. That is solid resistance. The good news is that this thing closed so well. And if it breaks above the 5-day high, then you feel like it could make it to the 10-day high. So I place this in a nice tight little upward move or downward move. And then if it breaks here, I want 2 positions short. If it breaks above the 10-day high, I want 2 positions long. So I'm treating this little piece as a compound critical state, a little doji action, ready to go in either direction. Check or hold. So here's what that looks like now on daily charts, a little easier to see. Solid support, slowly rising. Yeah, the PSAR flipped on that downward move, but it did not fail here, and it closed well. So there's a good reason to believe in the upside. But again, break of the 5-day low, look out below. Break of the 10-day high, look out above. You could even say breaking above 407, 406, which is the RL10. So it has just that little bit of tactical space to go to become very interesting. On the 150-day look back, there's, we're right back in the middle of the 150-day look back. We've made a pretty nice 30-day move. This little pullback, if it holds, could be that move, that buy on dip. And then we would see this as leg 1, dip, leg 2, dip, and then leg 3 could take it up into here. So 420 is in range so that's about a 5% move to the upside is reasonable expectation for this next leg. Then if that breaks and 430 breaks, then look out above. All right, let's look at the sectors today. We have the S&P plus 1.4 with a strong finish. Diamonds were the best at 1.57. Everything else was weaker. So this was the conservative U.S. large caps, broad-based strength, making gains. Tech was close, 1.25. Russell, 1.18. Treasuries, 0.32. And emerging markets were the weakest at minus 0.3. So this is all U.S. and about equally valued between small caps, large caps, tech. Looks pretty good for the U.S. That was a strong day. Let's look at the underperformers, the sectors first. Finance, uranium, blended commodities, staples down to 1%. The next big cluster, Mexico, agriculture, materials, real estate, Bitcoin, clean energy, lumber, 0.37. Next cluster, wheat and precious metals, consumer discretionary, 0.25, and that was the boundary between winners and losers. Losers today, the other lumber, fangs, that's troubling. When tech was up 1.25, the fangs were down 0.14. There's some trouble in those big companies. Lithium, Aussie, VIX, Ethereum, Mexico or Brazil, minus 2.7. Marijuana down 7%. Tesla, big loser today, 6.25. Rivian, also 6%. PayPal, only 0.31. Cliff, only 1%. So a wide range of disappointments there. What had the wins for today? Well, there's our baseline S&P 1.25. So ArcGenomics 1.7. S&P Tech. Now notice the difference between S&P Tech at 2.1 and NASDAQ Tech 1.26. So this is old school tech, like Microsoft, Apple, Texas Instruments, Intel, all better than the Qs. That's old school tech. Oil, biotech, oil exploration. Individual companies, Coinbase 5.8, Nvidia 3, Robinhood 3, Microsoft 2.9. That feels like the winner to me. Big vote of confidence in Microsoft today. Squarespace and Devon. Apple, Alcoa, Intel, U.S. Steel, all are tradables. So a wide range of tech and materials to choose from tomorrow. Quick look at the reports. We snuck up into sideways quiet. Strong move today. This pullback to the baseline actually helps make some belief in the next move up. Now, because it's not at an extreme volatility, so we're still in risk on and sort of normal upside. McDonald's, Procter, Home Depot, IBM, Nike, Tesla, Alcoa, Intel still continue to get pounded. No swing signals in the Dow except for the 551W. So 551W means that from 5 weeks ago, today is up. Compared to 5 days ago, it's down. And today was a white candle, meaning that the close was higher than the open. So there's like a long-term up, short-term pullback, and then 1 day of positive energy. So on the 551W, that's a signal for buying the second day momentum, which feels pretty good right now. The big mover today, Procter & Gamble, continues to get it done, up 0.7. And McDonald's, up 1.6. ETF 30, a lot of auto framers, Small breakdown in Brazil and Latin America, but otherwise the winners win. They're oil, energy, oil exploration. Enough said. That could be the beginning of that rebound in oil. We're going to go right to the snipers. Some Godzillas. Tesla. Large move coming. Ethereum, oil, and VIX. Quiet Godzillas. This one is why I think the energy to the upside might be time for that. Be mindful of that. Godzilla can go in either direction in a large surprising move. And these are so quiet, that's why the first move off those bottoms could really be surprising and turn into an enraged Godzilla pretty quick. Favorite pattern. In the 1 day movers, half a dozen stronger than 2 sigma. The double green and ATVI attracts me. Marijuana's big sell-off today, minus 7%, and it's the only one that is that double green. In volatility in our tactical set, that's a special case. Be ready for that one tomorrow. Big move in either direction. Don't know which, but big move coming. Don't fight the tape. Procter and McDonald's. IBM and Coke. All right, that's everything in the daily. Let's take a quick look at the traders. Constantine, wow. Last week's low finds a double bottom. Channel was down. The breakout occurs. Standard risk crushes it. Caught a 2 for the second entry. 7R and still going. That thing, this was such a sell-off that this thing can really go. There's a lot of room to the upside. Tomorrow's chart's going to be amazing from him on that. Tim, I think that's the indicated short rather than here. That should get you paid at least to here. I like this on the long side. But you've already committed to the downside here. This is supposed to work right away. When it doesn't, just cut it here, and then you can be long from here, and you'll get it back. And then when it crosses the VWAP, this is a perfect short. I might have taken the 1, 2, 3 to help pay for that one. This one, I like that short because you got a high and a lower high, and you've broken through the VWAP, and there's every reason to believe it gets to here. There just wasn't anything in it. So nothing wrong with that trade. CRM, OR3, quick scratch, good continuation. Oh, like that. I like that there. I like that short and a good scratch. I like that short, good scratch. I like this one because you got those lower highs and it's violating a Z3, and it's getting ready to cross the VWAP. So that's good for a number of reasons. That's a great entry. It just didn't follow through. And you gave it enough room. A lot of times that thing's going to break through the VWAP, and then it'll break below the Dragon, below the RL10, come down to this one, and could come all the way back to here. So that's the move that we were entitled to envision. Not predict, but just we could imagine how that could happen. All right, OR3. I like getting short here. If you don't, then this is still the next reasonable short. When this doesn't work right away, 1, 2, 3 chances to fail, take the exit here. Don't suffer all the way to here. Now this one, I like that as an OR3. Or no, I mean, sorry, as a PSAR flip. You have a strong downward move. Again, when this doesn't work right away, I like that exit. I like that short. This doesn't work right away, I'm out. I might just say, you know what? You've had 3 chances at me and it's not following through. Instead of taking those, maybe it ain't moving today. It's unusual for Cliff not to move, but that's just one of the few days that Cliff didn't move, although here's the move. OR3 potential long here. If you wait for this recovery, that's a great entry. That's a great entry. That's a great move. This is the next Kata 2 up. That's a good scratch. That's a good short that got paid. And then it petered out. So that's not bad. It's just it's tough missing that. I'm almost tempted that if I miss that, just say, you know what? If that was a range stat, maybe it's done for the day. Instead of trying to make it work. Here's Nolan in Microsoft. I like that entry. That rising lows and it breaks above the high. Standard risk. And then you captured what was there. That's nice. And then the recovery entry, that didn't work, so you got short right away. You got what was there. Those two scratched, and probably scratched. So that's still pretty good work. Found the mover. Treasuries. Yeah, big gap up. Couldn't hold. That's a new low of the day. That's possible short. That's a short. You wouldn't lose money on that one. And then the lower highs. That's a short. That's a good shot right there. So, hey, we'll take 1.1. You don't got to get them all. Busy on Microsoft, I get that. That's the oil move that Constantine got. When oil moves, when you're watching oil on the swing trade on the dailies or the hourlies, and you see it has that big sell-off like it had and starts to do this, you plot it back to the midpoint as leg 1 and back to the 10-day high as leg 2. And that's the kind of move that you can get early after a turning point in oil. Now, the thing to notice on oil is that the morning session in oil is driven by the oil contract, the oil futures. And so you're always going to get the biggest moves in that first section. And then when the futures trade is done, this usually is just tactical backing and filling. It's hard to make money in the afternoon on USO. The money in USO is early because of that reason. All right, that's everything we got for today. Thanks for your patience. We'll get this published and posted. Now, I would also tell you the video presentation from Chunlong was just absolutely amazing today, documenting his learning journey of the past year and talking about the creativity course, the foundations course, and all that. Outstanding work from Chunlong, and just full of praise for his hard work. It's absolutely worth 50 minutes of your time to check that out. So let's get on with it, and we shall see you tomorrow.